everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that'll help you become your best self. And today we're going to talk about how to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me on Instagram and TikTok. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I would love to be friends with you over there on social media, get to know each other, chat back and forth. And also, I'm also posting content daily on both of those platforms, so you can also learn different things that aren't necessarily talked about on the podcast, or just get it in a different format there that maybe we have spoken about here on the podcast. Either way, I'd love to see you over there. And you're also welcome to send me an email at realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. Maybe you have some questions, concerns, you prayer requests, maybe you have topic suggestions, all of those things. I would love to hear all about it. If you look in the show notes below, there'll be all the information I just listed, as well as a link to an anonymous survey for you to insert topic suggestions anonymously. So if you I don't want to talk to you, Sabrina, I just have a suggestion for the podcast, you are welcome to submit it through that anonymous survey. I would love to get it. And the last thing I want to highlight is signing up for my weekly newsletter that comes out every Wednesday afternoon, early evening-ish, every single week. So sign up for that because I keep you informed on what's coming out, what's going to happen next. Also, some helpful learning lessons in there too, or like a therapy corner and like random thoughts and, just sharing as much as I can so we can all become our better selves via our mindset and mental health. But let's go ahead and just jump into today's topic, and you can check out all that stuff I just talked about in the show notes below. But again, today we are talking about how to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So last episode, we spoke about the differences between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. So if you would like to learn all about that, I encourage you to go to the episode right before this one. I believe it was 414. And it'll give you a quick rundown of understanding the difference between those two things. But it was really important to me to lay out how someone with a fixed mindset would think and believe, as well as a growth mindset. So you kind of see those hand in hand. And also in the episode, I started with one mindset for fixed and growth. And so you can kind of see the differences in having kind of the same thought or belief, but seeing it from those two perspectives. And it's important to understand the differences between the mindset and behavior you are currently experiencing and the one that you want to transition to, so you have an idea of the journey you're about to go on. That is really important. You want to know what you're getting yourself into. So the previous episode, again, was laying the groundwork for understanding. And now we are going to discuss how to shift from living our life more with a growth mindset instead of the majority of it being a fixed mindset. Or even if you feel like it's 50-50 right now, kind of just shifting it over just a tiny bit. But I want you to know, before we get into, tips and things that you could take away with you today, the most important thing to remember when we are beginning our journey, shifting from fixed to growth mindset, is that your intelligence can be developed. That is the biggest, most important thing that you need to learn right now at this moment before we continue on. You can learn how to do new things that you don't understand from first glance, right? You don't have to get it on the first try. There is no prerequisite to learning something new or needing a foundation to work from. So if you've never given a presentation before, you can learn how to give one. You don't need to had seen someone else do it a million times or even have any sort of knowledge about it. You can just learn how to do it. This might be more difficult if you're well, I've never done a backflip before, but I want to learn how to do that. You can learn how to do that, and you probably won't be really good at it at the beginning, but you can learn how to do those things as long as it's not outside of your limitations, which we will talk about in a little bit. But yeah, you can learn it. There is no prerequisite, no need of foundation. You can just do it. Just go ahead and try. Just go ahead and figure it out. You can get yourself in shape in your brain with your knowledge and the skills that you would like to learn and develop the same way you get your body in shape, right? So if you're out there and you're trying to get these totally, strong back, right? That's something that I'm working towards. I want to get like a strong back and those strong, chiseled like shoulders or whatever. The time and energy and work that you put into doing that and like putting it in however your regular cadence is for lifting weights and working out and really trying to figure out what works best for you. It's the same as, gaining and gleaning more knowledge and developing new skills. You just need to find the vehicle that fits best for you to do so and the best way for you to learn it and take it on and understand it. And that's going to be, a little bit different for everyone. And it's okay to try one way and it doesn't work out. And then you try another way and you're like, oh my gosh, all of this totally makes sense. I know how to do this now. I understand what I need to do to have this skill, to achieve this skill. So I hope that gets you excited and makes you feel like, oh, okay, wow. So anytime I've been walking around being like, oh, here, I'll give you a real world example that I didn't write down in my notes. For me, I'm always like, oh, I don't know how to make those super sophisticated Excel spreadsheets. Absolutely not. I'm just to be vulnerable and transparent with you, I struggle with even putting in the sheet, the whatever, I forget, it's not called code, but like the formula. I struggle with figuring out the formula to put in there just to create a sum, right? Just to add all the numbers up. And for whatever reason, I tell myself, oh no, I can't. I don't do spreadsheets. I can't do spreadsheets, right? When in reality, I could actually learn how to create a spreadsheet with like all the basic formulas that a lot of people know how to do and I don't. But I just have to figure out the best way for me to learn how to do that and understand that. And that could be something I could also know. I'm not going to just say like, oh, I didn't get it the first time or the first 20 times or whatever I've tried. I just have to find the best way for me. Before we move on, you have to know that you have to start here. This is the starting line, okay? And if you can't accept and believe that knowledge and smarts can be trained and developed, you will not succeed in shifting from a fixed to a growth mindset. You will not. I'm here to tell you the honest truth. I am every single time, always, because if that is not something that you can accept and believe right now, you will not do so well. I'm not going to say fail, even though failure is a good thing, good experience. Maybe you will fail, but you might not do as well as you would if you started with understanding those thoughts and principles that, yes, you can learn new things. You can acquire new knowledge and intelligence and skills. You just have to know how to understand it and make it work for you. So you have to know that. That's the beginning part. If this is difficult for you to believe and accept, which I know some of us, it will be if we have lived so long in believing that if we aren't good at something the first or the second time, that's not meant for us, it'll be hard for us to push past it. But it might be helpful for you to chat with someone that excelled at goals and ambitions that were challenging and not something that came naturally to them. So seek out someone that had never done whatever the thing is they did and accomplished, and ask them like, wow, how did you believe that you could learn this thing, or you could overcome this thing, or you could figure this thing out when you have no experience doing it at all whatsoever? And it took you so long. How did you not give up? Really try to ask them those questions and better understand their perspective and then where they're coming from. And that could actually help you to believe and accept that knowledge and smarts can be trained and developed. And then you can move on to the rest. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that you should just like tap out right now and stop the podcast. But if you feel like the rest won't help you, then start there. Or listen to the rest and then figure it out later. Or if you're ready to believe that and accept it, we can just move on. So, just putting that out there. Okay. So, once you accept and understand this truth, that knowledge and intelligence can be learned and developed, you can move forward in accepting that since you can increase your intelligence, you can also endure challenges and setbacks. You can endure what other people say and their criticisms. You can also collect the lessons you gain from mistakes and failures and use those for the future and for trying again or just doing better. As well as knowing you don't need to give up when difficulty creeps in. So if you were able to accept that first principle and idea that intelligence can be developed, you can accept the rest of these things because it's a natural cadence and kind of like weaving journey of starting with that one and then going through all of these. And maybe you're like, hold on, it's hard. I'm barely accepting the first one. You're telling me that I'm also going to be able to endure challenges and setbacks? That's crazy talk. Or that what other people say in their criticisms, I won't care as much? Wow, Sabrina, you're really out there. And you really think that I'm going to have the discipline to really use the lessons I've had from mistakes and failures to help me? What are you thinking? I'm thinking that we can do that. I'm thinking we can do that if we don't allow difficulty to creep in and make us feel unbalanced. Like difficulty is going to creep in, but not allowing it to, shake us too much that we want to run away, that we want to hide, tell ourselves we can't do it, be really critical and hard of ourselves. So just know that is the path and journey that you're headed on. Do not be afraid. It's going to be awesome. You will be able to do all those things. It's going to be great. And maybe not all at once, totally fine, not a big deal, but eventually you will. Also, as with most things, you're like, oh, Sabrina, you always put these things out there. I just have to tell you, just so you're aware of all the information. This doesn't need to all happen at once or be an all or nothing thing. And what I mean by that is that I know I talked about in the previous section of, believing intelligence can be developed. But in the case of, shifting from a fixed to a growth mindset, it doesn't need to all happen at once, or it doesn't need to be like all fixed or all growth, like an all or nothing kind of situation. I mentioned in the previous episode that you can have both a fixed and growth mindset for different things in your lives. We can have a fixed mindset about learning a new skill at work, but have a growth mindset about growing a garden. Because maybe the new skill at work, you're like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could learn this. It's like speaking a foreign language for me to read the training materials for me to learn how to do this. It's not coming easily. It came easy to everyone else that works here. This is not going to work out. In comparison to if you grew a garden or you did something like that, where you're like, oh yeah, these plants, they died or they didn't blossom or bloom or whatever the gardening words are, because I am not a gardener, is just a good example. But one of my closest friends is. But you didn't give up. You're like, yeah, that didn't work out, but maybe it's because it was bad placement or, some animals came along and ate it, or it was just bad seeds, or whatever the reason is, we'll try again next time, or plant something else, or that's just not a good plant to plant in my garden because the sun exposure and this, that, and the other, right? So you can definitely have both a fixed and a growth mindset for different things in your life. So it all depends on where your belief stands for those things. And maybe because you have a growth mindset about your garden is because you've been through the trial and error and you don't see yourself as a failure in that. You're just like, oh, I'm just going to keep trying because this is kind of hard to nail down. Whereas you feel the opposite about learning a new skill at work because you're intimidated by how everyone else did. And maybe people in the past have told you that you suck at learning new things or you couldn't possibly learn this skill, whatever it may be. So, again, it's not all or nothing. You can be on both sides. So just know you don't need to switch everything over to growth at once, and don't get down on yourself if it's more difficult to shift it for something in particular that really just holds you back and weighs you down and is like a burden. You're like, I can never grow in this area. Eventually you will if you continue to grow in other areas. It'll seep in and, kind of be infected with that positive growth. And it'll change eventually. Just give yourself time and patience, okay? So here is a 5-step game plan for you to jump right into getting your growth mindset going. As always, I want you to know that all of this is based on my own research that I've looked up, or based on my own experience or the experiences of others that I'm able to share with you, and that if none of these steps work for you, you are welcome to just go to the internet and look up more ways on how to cultivate or get better at having a growth mindset. And there's going to be so much information and research you can comb through. Or you can just talk to a therapist or a counselor, and maybe they can help you give tips that would be better suited for you. I'm just giving this advice to try to help you. Okay, 5 steps. Here we go. Let's jump on in. So, the first one is start seeing your challenges as opportunities. Start seeing your challenges as opportunities. So, life is tough and sometimes unforgiving, to be honest. So, instead of letting it beat you down time after time, see these experiences as opportunities to push past through something that causes you pain and makes you feel uncomfortable, right? It's just the best way to go rather than sitting in your pit of despair and being so sad and not doing anything about it and just being all blah about it and oh, nothing's going to change. Woe is me, victim mentality, right? Just because something is hard doesn't mean it's bad. Just because something is hard doesn't mean that it's bad. It really, 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 really doesn't. And I hope that you ingest that piece of knowledge because I feel like we always think that the hard things are the bad things, are the tough things, are the things that we should avoid. But no, just because something is hard doesn't mean it's bad. It can cause you to become that better you and more capable of taking on the next goal and desired achievement and becoming your best self, which is what we talk about every single time we're here at the podcast because that's what our life goal should be like that. One of those main ones. So make sure that the challenges that come your way, they're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to probably suck and be like, oh, I don't want to be dealing with this, but I'm going to try to make the most of it. And yes, your mood and emotions may go up and down and you may respond really well, or there may be some really bad reactions that pop up. It's okay. Give yourself grace. We're not perfect, but just try to do it a little bit better next time. How you react, how you respond, and how you see those challenges in your life. And it won't be so dreadful, I'm telling you. So start seeing your challenges as opportunities. So here is the second one for you. Focus more on the process of what's happening now rather than the end result. Focus more on the process of what's happening now rather than the end result. If you become so fixated on the outcome, you are more likely to give up. You're way more likely to give up. And think about any past thing where you were so focused on how it was going to turn out in the end and whether you gave up or not, and how soon in the process of going towards achieving that goal that you gave up. You are so much more likely to give up because it feels so far away. You're reaching for this thing and you're I just want to get it. And you become frustrated. You haven't mastered it immediately, especially if you're looking around and comparing yourself to everyone else and you see other people that have mastered it right away. Right away, right? And it's so unnerving. It's really annoying. You're why is this my life? Who are these people? What are they doing, right? But really you need to be more focused on what you're doing. You need to be focused on what's happening right now. What's going on in the process? What work are you doing right now? It's always better to focus on the present more than the future anyway, because you need to actually enjoy your life. For real, that's what I'm telling you. You need to enjoy your life. We don't know how long we're here. That might sound cheesy to you. It's the truth though, right? But yeah, you need to enjoy your life that is happening right now and make that the best it can be while carving a path to your desired future in tandem. So those things can be happening together. But you can't be so overly fixated on what is going to happen in the end, because then you might actually overlook things that need to happen now or need to be changed or shifted for you to get that desired outcome. Think about that. If you're so caught up in the end, you're not even paying attention to the middle. Something might get a little messy, hard to clean up, should have asked for help. You're so focused on the end product, the outcome, that you don't even realize that if you actually make some changes here in the present, in the middle, it could actually be better than your original plan. But you're so fixated on what you already decided the end outcome should be that you bypass that. You miss out. You truly miss out. Think about that. No one wants to miss out on anything. So just consider that, okay? Focus more on the process of what's happening now rather than the end result. Number 3, you don't need other people's approval. You really don't. I have done an episode on this. I honestly could not tell you what number it is. I encourage you to go look. I encourage you to go look and see what it is and listen to it. If you feel like you struggle with external validation, with needing other people's approval, okay? So because we need to stop clinging to external validation. Like it's important. I really want to like triple underline that for you. Stop clinging to external validation. You know, getting someone's perspective, like you're like, oh, well, what do you think about me applying for this job role? You know, getting their perspective and using that to see your situation from a new angle, right? They're like, oh, I don't know. Like, do you have skills in like doing this, that, and the other? You know, do you have experience or what is your goal in doing this? Like, how is this going to contribute to your overall goal and plan and blah, 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 right? So, you know, using that situation to see whatever it is from a new angle is much different than needing someone to approve and validate what you're doing and taking that as the gospel truth. So if you're like, hey, what do you think about this job role? And they're like, yeah, I don't really see you doing that. Or it doesn't seem like you have the experience to do that. Or, wow, how does that even align up with your whole life goal plan for the next couple years or whatever? You know, and then being like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be a good fit. And then you not doing it just because they don't think it's going to be a good fit. But there must have been a reason you looked into it because you, the person that actually would have to be doing it, the person that actually knows more about what you can or cannot do or what you can or cannot learn, you will know more. And there's no need to get someone else's approval. You're an adult. If you're not legally an adult, you probably still don't need their approval to do something. I don't know. That's a gray area for me. If you need your parents' approval, then get that approval. But in the majority, like you don't need the approval. You don't need the validation. And I feel like a lot of us in life, this is like a small tangent, need the validation to just be who we are, to act the way that we naturally, deep down in our soul and our heart, that real person, not some fake person that, you know, adapts to whatever the situation is or is a people pleaser. And so they put on this whole charade to take care of everyone else first and not them. And then they end up losing themselves because they're serving everyone else and not themselves at all. That's another way that validation creeps in our life, and it's hard to let it go. It is hard to let it go. I understand that. I've been there. You know, sometimes I still struggle with that. But we got to learn how to loosen that chokehold and let it go. Don't allow validation to get in the way of something that you're doing or being the reason you decided to give up because they told you you can't do it or don't seem to be good at it. You know, because again, they're only seeing it from their perspective. And that's only one angle, right? And maybe if you actually did a poll of like 5 or 10 people and that one person was like, don't do it. And everyone else was like, yeah, do it. Then it's like, you know, okay, well, actually the majority wants you to do it. Yet you're putting so much trust in this one person, despite your like burning desire and passion to do this thing, whatever it is. It's only one angle, and when you ask someone for their perspective and opinion on something, it also has their biases all tied up in it. So whatever they've been through and experience, what they think they know of you, what they think they know of this job, or whatever it is, their bias is like all over it. So you have to consider all of this when you're asking for someone's opinion, perspective, what they think. You don't have to do what they say or take their words as a gospel truth. It's not. It's just their words. Even if they know you better than you know yourself, it's still just their words. And it's okay to take a risk and try something. Even if everyone's like, oh, wow, you will never be good at that. Maybe you'll be good at that. Maybe we don't know because you've never tried. I feel like I'm getting really passionate here. So we're going to move on. But yes, you don't need other people's approval for anything. You don't. I mean, okay, I understand. Sometimes in work and life, yeah, you do. But you know what I mean. To go after the things you want to do, to change and become better, to grow and shift and be awesome, be like really lean into that awesome person that you know that you are. If you're not allowing it to be out and about, you don't need other people's approval. Stop clinging to external validation. Okay, number 4 out of 5, remember. Number 4 is accept that you're not perfect and we can't do everything. Accept that you're not perfect and we can't do everything. You know, this might seem like a downer, but there will be some things that we cannot do. And I kind of like preface that in the beginning of this episode because, yes, I want you to go into things and believing that you can try it. You can try to learn it and gain that skill and become good at it. But there's just going to be some things that we cannot do, right? There is no way that I could just go and become a gymnast and get to the Olympics. Like, there's just no way for me because of my body and things and like injuries and stuff like that. And also how old I am and how that would be, that would be like a lot, really taxing on me, right? I know that I cannot do that. And that's fine. I've resigned myself to that. But yeah, there's just some things that you cannot do. There will be some things we are just not meant to do and be good at. And that is perfectly fine for everyone, okay? That's perfectly fine. If everyone was good at everything, we wouldn't need each other. There would be no reason for us to like try to be coming together as a community, right? And again, cheesy but true. You know it's true. So yeah, if you give it enough effort and discover that it's not something you can master or do well or whatever, move on from it. Just move on. It's okay. It's not like a sad thing. It's not like a failure. It's not like anything negative. You're just like, okay, I did what I could and this isn't working out and we're going to move on. We're not going to let this thing hold us back, right? Take with you the pride of knowing you tried and the courage of giving it a shot. You tried and that you feel proud about that. You had the courage to try it. You gave it a shot. Feels good. Also, it's important for me to note that we all have weaknesses. Every single one of us. If you don't think you have weaknesses, you might need to check your ego. And that's okay. That's just me being real with you. But we all have weaknesses, And, instead of hiding from these weaknesses, I would love for you to embrace these, to no longer let these hold you back from trying something new or asking for help. Because I feel like we all need to practice being vulnerable to be like, hey, I'm really bad at this. Can you help me understand this? Can you help me become better at this? Can you help me with this thing? Because we all have weaknesses and we just need to stop hiding from them, because if we continue to hide, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. They'll still continue to be there and be like this scary picture that we walk by all the time. We're like, oh, why haven't I done something about that? What's happening? So a growth mindset, someone that has a growth mindset knows that you don't need to do everything by yourself. So it's important to also ask for help. So all in all, accept that you're not perfect. And we all have weaknesses. Just embrace it. And know that you can't do everything. Sometimes you will do your due diligence, you put in the work, it's just not going to work out. And that's okay. That's also a growth mindset because you did what you needed to do and then you healthfully moved on from it and decided, okay, that's not going to work and that's totally fine. And maybe even you come back to it later in the future because you're like, something has changed. Let's see if it has changed for me in this, right? Right. Okay, so number 5 and our last one for today is you're on your own timeline. And just remember, we're talking about 5 great steps for, the game plan of cultivating and creating a growth mindset. You're on your own timeline, so be patient. If you have a growth mindset, patience is baked right in. So if you want to get one, you got to start having patience now. It's good to adopt the idea that something has happened, hasn't happened yet, rather than believing it won't happen at all. So adopt that idea, that phrase, that mindset, that something hasn't happened yet. Capital Y, capital E, capital T. Instead of it just won't happen, right? If you're like, oh man, I'm never going to get my dream job, even though I keep applying. Instead of saying that, you're like, oh, I have yet to get my dream job, but I'm still going to believe that I can do that and I will be guided to the correct one and that'll just happen in my life. It just hasn't happened yet, right? And again, the same principle from the previous step applies that like, okay, maybe you did all your due diligence and you tried and it's not going to work out, then you move on. And then you realize, okay, that is not going to happen. Or maybe it's just not going to happen right now. And it's still a yet thing, right? You just never know. We all accomplish goals on our own timeline, despite any similarities you may see between you and someone else. I don't care if you feel like every single thing lines up. There's going to be things you don't know that you need to chill out about and be like, it's okay. Like they just, even if they do it first, maybe the positive part of them doing it first is you get to see the mistakes and failures that they experience, the bumps in the road, the struggles. And then you can already figure out, oh, well, if I go through those same things going to achieve the same goal, then I already know about those things and I can already prepare for them. So instead of seeing it as a negative, as, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're getting to do this and I'm not, see it as a way for you to be even more ready because you get to watch them do it first. And then you're like, okay, now I know how to proceed with even more caution or knowledge or an even better plan. And you're way better prepared. That's the positive that you need to take out of it. But yeah, we all accomplish goals on our own timeline. It really doesn't matter. We're all different. And, also, whether you believe in things happening when they are supposed to, like at the right time, it just does seem to be how life goes, where things just happen. Things just happen when they happen, when they're supposed to happen, And if you don't believe me, or you don't believe in that, rather, reflect back on a time something happened differently than you wanted, but it ended up being better than you could have imagined. You're like, oh yeah, I have this plan, this goal, I want to achieve it. It took longer, or it took me down a different path that took longer, but it turned out to be better than I could have imagined because I didn't know all this extra stuff was going to be thrown in, or I didn't realize that, taking this weird detour, I was able to avoid all of this other stuff that I didn't know was going to happen. Really think about that. Like things just happen when they need to happen. Just think about the past, and that can kind of help you maybe inch closer to believing in that. That's fine. Even if you don't, it's totally fine. But it's just all in due time, really. Don't give up until you have done your due diligence and come to a clear end. And the end will feel clear. It won't feel like, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to give up and feel like blah. It's going to feel like, no, we're done here. I've done the work and this is the end. This is just not going to happen, or it's not going to happen right now. Let's move forward. That's the healthy growth mindset way to go. So you're on your own timeline. So be patient and continue to put in the work. Don't give up. But that's it, you guys. That is all 5 steps for a really awesome game plan to get you to jump right into getting your growth mindset going. And I really hope this has helped anyone that's trying to figure out how to transition from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Again, listen to the episode prior to this to kind of get a framework for what both of those things mean and how they could apply to your life and whether you are struggling with one or the other, whatever. And that will kind of like help you understand better to move on to this one and apply these steps to start shifting over to a more growth mindset. And again, not everything has to shift all at once. Take your time. And even sometimes when you have shifted something over to a growth mindset, it might shift back to a fix because of some situation that happens, and you can just shift it back, right? It's not like forever in that station. We're always doing work. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, with me, Sabrina. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening, downloading, and sharing the show. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Take a look at all that cool stuff down in the show notes on like signing up for the weekly newsletter, come saying hi to me on social media, submitting an anonymous topic suggestion. It would be all fantastic. But until next time, have a good one, and I will see you all next time. Bye, guys.